Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a wonderful invention of recent times. It has basically shoot in the price and it gained its popularity. Even recently, Tesla announced that they're going to keep Bitcoins in their balance sheet, and its role is also kind of changing. It's kind of correlating with the role of gold. In fact, gold is not faring that well. Bitcoin is faring much better in the times when inflation is about to come. So there is a lot of things to be talked about Bitcoin. So today what we're going to do is we're going to analyze this prospect of Bitcoin, the price movement in terms of demand supply analysis. Stay tuned for my analysis. Before we proceed, help me to subscribe this channel so that you'll get benefit when I post up a new video, so you get it on time. And also do like and share and give comments to what I'm saying. Give me your opinion, and this will help us to have further discussion. Thank you. This is the Bitcoin chart. So we're going to try to do an analysis, supply demand analysis on this chart to see where the price is heading to. So now let's try to see if this is definitely an uptrend. So we can confirm that by saying that, okay, this is the price move toward the up. Okay, so let me change the thickness as well as the color. Okay, it's moving upward. Then maybe I change to blue. Maybe it's blue color is more appropriate for upward. Then it's moving downward here. You can see that it's moving downward. And then after that it is moving upward. Okay, then next it is actually moving downward. So we have enough points for us to do supply demand analysis. So we actually require 2 cycles. I think we do have the 2 cycles we are looking for. The only issue right now, I think, where should we start the start of an uptrend? So right now I'm putting it somewhere here, the start of an uptrend, because even though previously it was on an uptrend, but then it reflected here. So then it reached a low point here. So therefore I'm taking that low point to be the next start for the uptrend. Okay, so I do not consider it from the very beginning because it flattened somewhere here, and then it reached its down point here. So I'm taking the down point to be my analysis point. Okay, so now we're going to measure we're going to look at the strength of this particular chart, whether this chart has got some strength to go further up. Okay, so for that we will take our ruler and try to measure the distance it has gone up. So this is just a rough estimate. We can see that it went up by quite a lot, $22,000. So that is its first upward move. Then we will look at the second upward move. We will take the ruler again. We'll try to see how is it moving. So it's even moving. Okay, so this is much more clearer. It moved about 27,520. We'll put it 27,520, or rather 27,300. I think 27,300 is much more appropriate. 27,300 roughly. I mean, we just put rough price because we don't really require absolute numbers. So rough number will do. So what we'll see here is in the first run up, this is the first cycle, the low and then the high followed by a low creates a first cycle, and then the low followed by the high and the low creates a second cycle. So now we have in the first round 22,000 difference. Second round we have 27,000 difference. So that means in the second round it moved further up a lot more, and that indicates to us this is actually in a strong uptrend. So Bitcoin is actually in a strong uptrend. Okay, it is in a strong uptrend. So that is the first conclusion. Next we're going to look at the demand supply of it to judge on its power to move higher than the previous high. So if I would like to plot the previous high is at this point. This is the high point, roughly estimate. We can rough estimate here. It's somewhere around 58,000. So that's the high point. So we want to see if that high point can be can be um, can be breached to go for the high. So now we're going to do a supply demand analysis. So for that we will take our Fibonacci retracement tool. So we will take from the low side here all the way to the upside and see how far from the upside. So this is the upside roughly. So you can see that it retraces all the way to less than 50%, maybe it's slightly like 45%. It retraces around 45%. So we'll put it here that it retraces around 45%. This is a rough estimate. We don't really require exact estimate of the retracement. Okay, the next retracement is in the second cycle after it went up all the way up and then it went down here. So we're gonna do a second retracement, measure the second retracement. We go all the way from top to up. Then this one also almost it's the same thing. It's 45% retracement, almost 45% retracement. So there's not much difference in terms of the supply that we have in the market. So I'll explain about that in a while. Okay, so what basically these numbers mean. Okay, so why the price went up is because of the demand. So that's why the price went up. Why the price went down is because of supply. So they were like, after the demand, they were like 45% supply thereafter, and then it proceeded to have demand again, and then it went down again. So that means there was supply of 45,000. So it's kind of equal in terms of supply. So it's kind of neutral whether it is gonna go beyond the high that it's already reached. But the previous conclusion we did was it is actually in a strong uptrend. So that means it is a very high likely the price is going to continue to move up. So that's why we see here the price is actually moving up. So that is due to the earlier conclusion that it is in a strong uptrend, but it is still uncertain whether it is going to breach that high that it is already reached earlier, because our demand supply is just saying that it's kind of neutral. So because we already did the measurement just now, we found out that the retracement is like 45%, and the second round the retracement is also 45%. That means the supply is kind of equal. Once the peak, once the price is increasing, the supply is still kind of equal. Okay, now I'm going to do a second analysis. This time I'm going to look at the starting point not to be somewhere here where we said that this is the starting point for the uptrend. We're going to shift it a bit much more earlier, because if we study this chart, maybe we can consider this also the start originate of the uptrend. Okay, because this is a low point and thereafter it started to move up. So if I were to make that as my start point for the uptrend, so then the analysis will give you a different kind of result. So from here to there, we see that the price difference is it's going to be very huge. It's going to be very huge. That's like, wow, that's like, let me do it again. That's a lot, really a lot. That's like 30,000. You've moved up like 30,000. That's a lot, huge. 30,430. 30,430. So that's how much it moved if you consider from that point. And then of course the other move we had was from this point. Well, this one is much lower. Well, we can take the this is quite this is much lower for my view, so I would say it moved like this up. Okay, it's not really matter, it's a small difference, I would say. So if you were to measure the price here, the difference of it, so that is actually like so it moved like 27,600. 27,600. This is just rough estimate, it's not very accurate ones. So we can see that in the first cycle it moved like 30,000 up. In the second cycle it moved like 27,628 nearing. So it's actually getting lesser. The movement, the uptrend move is actually getting lesser. So we in this case we will conclude that is actually a very weak uptrend. Why we say it's weak uptrend is because comparing the first cycle move where it moved like 30,000, it reduces thereafter to become like 28,000. So that's why we conclude that it's actually having a weak uptrend. Okay. Then we look at the retracement. So when we study the retracement, so from there it went down here. Well, because I'm taking the second point down, even though the first one is also down there, I'm taking second point because in my view, that seems to be a bit more lower than the first one. Okay, I can zoom in and then actually roughly it's slightly lower than the other one. So this is a downtrend. So we can also look at the retracement that it has done. Okay, we'll take the retracement tool. So from here onwards to there, it retraces about 38% or 37%, I would say. It did not reach the 38 point. It's retraced up to 37. So roughly that's my rough. So here it retraces like 37 points percentage. Okay, so now remove that off. Then the next one we have is from there. So we'll take this Fibonacci retracement from here low side to the up. Okay, so this up is up to here. Okay, now if you study the retracement, it is actually beyond 38. So it's nearing to 50, but it's like around 45, I would say. So it's like retraced about 45%. Okay, so I'll put it here like 45%. Okay, so here what we can make a deduction, what deduction we can do is, let me draw the down arrow as well. So here we have a down arrow going downward. So this is a downward reach. Okay, so when we compare in terms of demand supply, first round it had a very strong demand and then it retraces like 37%. So that means the demand, thereafter supply came in like 37% of it. And then after that it had a demand again. And then supply came in again like 45%, it retraces. So if you compare the previous supply, which is 37%, and now we compare at 45%, so they're actually getting more supply. So actually when we get more supply from 37 to 45, when the supply is growing, it basically means this particular uptrend is actually having no power. So what does it really mean by having no power? So if this trend line, if I do a top, this is the top line, right? So this is the highest price it has reached. So roughly we can say that's a rough estimate of the high price it has reached. So now when we say it has no power, what basically indicates is from this low for it to go beyond the high is actually very less probable. So that is what it means when we say that it will go up because we have a weak uptrend. It may go up, but it may not be able to surpass that previous high. So that's why we can make a second conclusion due to the supply demand analysis. We can make a conclusion that it has no power to go beyond the previous high. That's basically that's what we can conclude. So actually we have two kind of analysis depending on where you start your start point. So if you start your start point from since very beginning, right, it actually indicates that it is actually going through a weak uptrend, and also it doesn't have any power to go further up from the previous high. But if you were to start from the uptrend from this particular point that I'm pointing out here, then it totally changes the story. So it is still in a strong uptrend, but it's kind of neutral in terms of whether it is going to go beyond that high or not. So it depends on how you look at things here. So but for my view, I think this is a bit high. Bitcoin has got a bit too high, so it might not it is a bit risky to bet on it to go further up. But actually right now it is still a safe bet because it might go further up a bit, but whether it goes beyond the previous high, that's a question that is at everyone's mind, which even the chart depends on how you analyze it, the conclusion is going to be different. Okay, I hope this kind of analysis has given open up your mind to a different level of thinking or different kind of views. So give me your comment, what you think about this kind of analysis, and do you agree with me or disagree with me. So I'm happy to give you comments. And please subscribe this channel if you find it useful, and also please do like and share to the others so that others can actually give their comments as well. Okay, see you next time.